I don't believe men were created to be pawns in someone else's game. I believe we were created to be steward kings. Men under authority, yes, but entrusted with real responsibility. Not perfect men, but disciplined ones. Men who rule themselves, serve God directly, and refuse to live in fear. King, not pawn. I want to go ahead and talk about something uncomfortable for a second. Not because it's evil or bad, but simply just because it's become an idol. See, for a lot of men today, it's not money, it's not power, or even pleasure for that matter. It's love. Or at least what we think love is. And before anybody gets defensive, hear me out. Love is one of the greatest gifts God ever created. Marriage is holy. Relationships are good. Companionship is good. So the problem isn't love by itself. The problem is that many of us have made love the target. And when you make anything other than God the target, you miss the mark. See, there's this lie that a lot of us were raised on because most of us grew up watching the same stories. The same movies, TV shows, and almost all of them told the same kind of message. The hero gets the girl, and once he gets the girl, the story ends happily ever after, arrival, completion, mission accomplished. That message, it may have been subtle, but clearly it's been very powerful. The purpose of your life was to find love, to find the right person, find your soulmate, find the one who completes you, and then everything will finally make sense. So I propose a little story of my own. I call it the finish line that never comes. So imagine a man who's running a marathon, for years, decades, every day pushing toward a finish line, believing that once he crosses it, everything will be different, everything will be complete. Then, one day, he crosses the line and he discovers that there was no finish line, just another beginning. See, that's what happens to many people in relationship. They spend years believing, when I finally find someone, everything will be fixed. Then they find someone and discover they brought themselves into the relationship. So why do we chase it so hard? Well, let's be honest. Most men, they aren't really chasing a woman. They are chasing what they think a woman will give them. This would be belonging or comfort, validation, security, connection, a form of significance. They're hoping that another person can solve a problem that only God can solve. And that's a burden that no woman was ever designed to carry. And this is where we get into Adam's story because it's often misunderstood. People, I talk to them all the time, and they always love to point this one out. They say, it's not good for man to be alone. And yes, okay, that's true. I'm not going to argue that. But what happened before Eve showed up? Adam, he already had purpose. He had responsibility. He had work. Adam had a relationship with God. Adam was already walking with God before Eve even arrived. So what we see here in the story is that mission came first. Alignment came first. Then companionship followed. Today we've just simply reversed the order. The modern man, he prays a certain way, something kind of like this. God, please bring me my wife. God, please send me the right woman. God, just help me find love. And again, there's nothing wrong with asking for that, okay? But often underneath that prayer is a deeper belief, which is, if I had her, I'd finally be okay. And that's where the problem begins, because now she's become your savior, and no woman can ever survive being placed in that role. There's this weight that we place on relationships, and just think about how heavy that is. You meet someone, you like them, things start going well, and without even realizing it, you start making them responsible for your happiness. Your peace, your confidence, your emotional stability, or your sense of worth. No wonder relationships struggle these days. We're asking another human being to carry a weight only God was designed to carry. So then some of you guys out there are going to probably be like, okay, Josiah, wise guy, well, what really is love then? What does it actually look like? And this is where I defer to Jesus, because that's He changed everything. Jesus, he completely redefines love. The world's version of love is often consumption. Okay? It's what can I get? What can you provide? How do you make me feel? Do you fulfill my needs? That's not love. Okay? That is consumption. Love asks a different question. It says, or it asks, how can I serve? Again, looking at Jesus, he never took. Think about it. Everywhere he went, he gave, he healed, he taught, he encouraged, he corrected at times, and he sacrificed. He poured himself out constantly, even on the cross while being crucified. Jesus was still serving, still loving, still giving. That's where I started to kind of have this revelation of a holy cycle of what healthy love actually looks like. Not one person taking from another or one person carrying the entire relationship, but two people both pointing toward God, both serving, both sacrificing, both giving. Not because they're trying to earn something, but because they already have something and they already have the love of God. This creates a beautiful cycle, a holy cycle. One serves the other serves back, both point toward God, and everyone grows. So here's another story, the campfire. Think of a relationship like a campfire, okay? Most people will think that the relationship itself is the fire. It's not. God is the fire. The relationship is two people sitting around it together. The closer they move towards the fire, the closer they naturally become to each other. But if they make each other the fire, eventually they both burn out. So why is it that relationships become idols? An idol is anything you look to for what only God can provide. That's all an idol is. And for many young men, relationships have become idols, not because they worship women, but because they worship what women represent. Acceptance, love, completion, the feeling that my life has finally begun. But here's the danger of making love the target. Remember that first episode we had, hamartia, missing the mark? What happens when romantic love becomes the target? Well, everything starts bending around it. Your decisions, your priorities, your purpose, your identity. You start aiming your life toward a relationship instead of aiming your life toward God. And this leads to heartbreak. Why? Well, even when the relationship works, it still disappoints because no human being can deliver what only God can provide. The relationship was never meant to save you, it was meant to accompany you. And that's a huge difference. So, what does the image of God look like in relationship? Well, when you bear the image of God, you stop asking, who will complete me? And you start asking, how can I reflect Christ? How can I serve? How can I love? How can I sacrifice like he did? How can I point another person toward God? That's a completely different target. This leads to a counterintuitive truth, ironically, because the moment you stop making love your target, you're finally capable of loving properly. Because now you're not trying to take, you're trying to give. You're no longer desperate, you're grounded. You're no longer seeking a savior because you've already found one. See, love is beautiful. Marriage, beautiful. Relationships are, but they make terrible gods. A woman was never meant to become your purpose. A relationship was never meant to become your identity. And love was never meant to become your target. So aim for God, serve God, bear his image, and let every relationship in your life become an overflow of that. Because the man who makes God his target can finally love without needing to possess. The goal of your life is not to find someone who completes you. The goal of your life is to become the kind of man who reflects Christ.